Well, good morning, everybody. It's getting closer to Christmas time, and I want to encourage everyone that's listening to do something really special for your family, and that's to help them, give them a gift that will live beyond their lifetime, okay? And that's to help somebody find their story. And so for Santa Claus this year, why don't you, do something special for a friend, a family member, somebody that you really care about, and have them pick up a copy of Leaving Your Life Imprint. It's just, and how you do that is just give a donation, and we send it to you back in the mail. And we have it on Venmo now. It's just Kenny Mauck if you want to go and give a donation, and I'll sit in there and I'll sign your book and get you a copy of that. And we'll also, if you give a little more, we'll put a cup in there. This helps you if you're wanting to go on a trip, with a family member, or you want to hike. This is a great thing you can attach to your belt, and some people use it as a survival means because it does a little bit of everything. But anyways, I wanted to just share that with you, that go do something special for your family and help them inspire about their own story. Maybe they've inspired you, and you're like, I want to thank you, and or maybe it's somebody who doesn't think their story amounts to much, but we're even to begin to track one story. And I learned some amazing things about my own heritage and my own family. And it just really, there was laughter, tears, every emotion that you can think of in tracking my own story. I didn't know. And so it helps you kind of think of ways to walk through life and make sure your story is there for your kids, your grandkids, because they're going to want to know, hey, what was mom and dad like? What was grandpa like? What was one of my great-grandfather like? And so I'm the keeper of my own story, and all of us are responsible for our story. So there you go. So pick it up. All right, this morning, I'm excited because I've got a guest that has been one of those great mentors in my life. I have interviewed politicians, people that are in the music business. I could go down the list of people that are very well recognized. But, when it's all said and done, there are those people that have made such an impression, such an imprint on your life. That's like, and Don is in my book. This is Don Evans. I'm so glad, Don. We're glad to have you back. This is episode 21. We've got 21 of these episodes, and I'm so excited to have Don here. I couldn't be more excited for having a guest like this true mentor in my life since I've been a kid. He's been through every up and down valley of my life, and he's been there and just hung in there with me and through it all. And I words and not enough money could ever express enough how much I appreciate you, Don.
Thank you.
So here we are. Don, let me tell you some of the ways that he has influenced my life. One is with his wife, Barb. Barb and Don, if you see one, you usually see the other one right next to each other holding hands. And how many years of marriage now, Don?
62 years.
62. I put 50 plus on the when I was promoting this episode, but that's a good long time. My parents were married 66 years, and so Don and Barb being married 60, that's very special. Don, tell us. I know Barb has meant a lot to you, but we have a few minutes here. Why don't you share about the great journey and how you have mentored my life in terms of the area of marriage? Go ahead.
My pleasure. Thank you, Kenny, again for having me. And before I get into my personal experience in my family, again, this whole thing is about the importance of mentorship, mentoring. And the most important people, although I told you last week about my trying to help kids at school, because that was where I was at, coaching, teaching, school principal. And I look back in those years and with great pleasure. However, the most important influence I can have in life is my own kids, my children and my wife. Once again, for those I'm mentoring, we're basically saying I could give you definitions. I could quote famous people and what they felt about it. But basically, the bottom line is it's just helping young people. I'm focusing on young people to change their life, to help them get on the right track. Regarding my own family, you mentioned my wife, Barb. 62 years of marriage, and I just shake my head thinking, where has all of these years gone? I met Barb when she was just a young teenager. Married her a few years later between my junior and senior year in college. And we've had a wonderful, wonderful marriage. Barbara has not only been easy to live with and to love, because she, I know, loves me. A day doesn't go by that when I go to bed at night, I'll go over and give her a kiss and tell her I love her, and she says, I love you. And that's, we verbalize this. Mm-hmm. We did it in front of our kids. And I cannot encourage people to understand the importance of your children, your family, seeing you loving your wife. Let them see that. Let them visualize that. And let you be in verbalizing that in front of their presence. So imperative. And I can honestly say, and this is going to be hard to believe, that in 62 years of marriage, Barbara's never raised her voice. I can't say that about me. I've had to apologize to her a few times, getting upset. But no, we've had a wonderful marriage. And if someone asked me and have asked me, well, how would you explain 62 years of marriage? How did you do it? And it's because we both love each other. It's as simple as that. And we've expressed that, and we try to express that unreservedly in our presence of our friends and especially our family. God gave us 3 special daughters. You talk about being blessed. I'm truly blessed as a father. Our first daughter, Kim, came along, and you talking about a wonderful, wonderful daughter. I mean, to this day, they live in California, she and her husband, Pat, 3 children. But as a young girl growing up, she was the compliant one. All I had to just say is, Kimmy, do this, and it was done. And she was just a joy and has been all of her life. And then a couple years later, we had another daughter, Carrie. Carrie is a precious, precious person. But she was the one that asked why, when, where. Kimmy being compliant.
She's like a sister.
I would hear many nights after I've gone to bed upstairs, brush my teeth, going to bed, down in the kitchen, Carrie and Barbara going at it, and Carrie asking her why. And so, bless her heart, to this day, she has this. But I can't tell you how, to these 2 girls, I mean, I remember slumber parties when they were junior high school girls coming to our house. They had the slumber parties at our house. And those same girls, Lynn and Brenda and Liz, those same girls, Kimmy and Carrie, every couple of years, to this day, they go someplace in the country and have a long weekend.
Yeah, great.
So, yes, they had that kind of something about them that drew people to them. They still do. And they go out of their way to help people, which I could tell you different stories. Carrie makes food and gives it to people who she knows it's hurting. 5 years after Carrie was born, we had Christy. And Christy, from the day she was born, had problems. She was born with mental deficiencies, and all of her life, from day one, had to have one-on-one care. The most loving child you would ever want to meet, including yourself, and many, many other, all the people we know, our friends, everyone loved Christy. Mm-hmm. I remember when we moved to Nashville, Christy was in the Learning Center, and her teacher aide came to Barbara with tears in her eye, saying, I hate moving, and rather having you moving and me leaving and losing Christy. She could have been a cheerleader. She could have been the ball of the party if she had been normal. Mm-hmm. That's our little angel, Christy. But in fact, when we moved here in Nashville 25 years ago, we had to have a placement for her. The first 9 years of her life, Barbara quit work, and that's all she did was take care of Christy one-on-one, day and night. And throughout her life, we had situations where after 9 years, I went to the community health director, and I said, listen, we're going to have help because we don't want to do this. We fought this, but we're going to have placement for our Christy because for 9 years, Barbara has just done nothing but take care of her day and night. And she's on the verge of a nervous breakdown. I'm going to lose my wife or my daughter. So we're going to have help. And so we reluctantly started having placement for Christy. But one thing came to mind, Kenny, one time we were meeting with the community director and trying to seek help in the first stages of getting guidance. And he said, Don, Barb, he said, 85% of the couples that sit in my office here, where you're sitting, wind up in divorce over this. And I immediately said, that won't happen because we have God in our lives. And I have to say that that's been the foundation. Had we had days when we felt like flying over or driving off a cliff? Yes. Barbara and I both have had those days. I remember one time coming home from a church board meeting, and I was beside myself. And I cried out to the Lord. I said, Lord, I can't handle this.
Yeah.
I'm relinquishing Christy to you. And that prayer relinquishment did something to me. Didn't change Christy, didn't change our situation, but it changed me because I now could just say, it's your problem. I love her, our family loves her, but she's yours. Christy died 5 years ago. She was in a group home. In fact, the group home, when we moved here 25 years ago, we called Kenny, and you found open arms for us, and she's been there ever since. 5 years ago, she was taking a shower. She fell. She broke her leg. She was operated on in the hospital. She wouldn't eat, gave her a feeding tube, caught pneumonia, and died. In fact, 5 years ago, just this coming New Year's Eve. So you sang at her funeral, and talking about singing, you mentioned the choir and me being in the choir, Barb being in the choir. Singing has been such an important part of the Mauck family. All you did singing. Your father led the choir. Your mother had a beautiful voice. You and your sisters. But singing, that's how I met Barbara. As a young teenager, she was singing in the gospel trio, and I told my sister, I said, I'm going to meet that girl. And so Kimmy, when she was younger, she sang in the choir. In fact, you and she sang together in the choir.
Sure did.
She sang before thousands of people in Amway conferences. Carrie as a young girl sang in the church all of her life. High school, she was on the cheerleading squad, and she won the talent show singing. in the USA cheerleading contest, and they flew her to Disney in Florida. Barb and I flew to California when she was the finalist in the Ed McMahon Star Search on national television. She sang when she won the talent show for Miss Belmont, when she was Miss Belmont in college, and the finalist in the Tennessee pageant. Singing has been a vital part of our life. Mm-hmm. But I say all that to say this. Christy was our singer. I mean, she would grab a spoon and walk around the house singing.
The B-I-B-L-E.
B-I-B-L-E, or You Got the Whole World in Your Hands, or her special song, You Are So Beautiful, that you sang at her funeral. And she'd get in the car, and first thing she'd say is, I want music. Now, she couldn't talk or hold a conversation, but she loved music. Music's been a vital part of our family, yes. And there's something I want to share and leave with the audience. If you have a special needs child in your home, you may have other children in your home that are normal. And I realize from my own experience that most of their time is given to that special needs child because of all the things that need to be done. But I look back, and one thing I wish I would have done more is to give more quality time to Kimmy and Carrie, who are normal. They handled Christy beautifully. But I encourage you to just take your normal son or daughter, take them out and give them a hamburger and hold a conversation and hold her the hand. Take them to a movie, but give them one-on-one quality time. Mm-hmm. They need that as well as you. And so raising family, and especially having special needs children in your home, it's very, very important.
Very touching. And I know not only have you been like a father, but they've been like sisters to me, all three of them. And very special to my life. One thing that I think the whole Evans family realized, and I think you all appreciate this, they have a great sense of humor. The Evans, family, they just do. And having Christy, just thinking of the various things that she would say or do was so funny, and that was part. The humor was just, and the joy of the Lord was still a part of that.
Let me tell the story.
Yeah.
Kenny.
Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
You know, Carrie, she came to Nashville. She decided that as a sophomore in high school that she wanted to go to Belmont because of music.
Yeah.
And many years she was involved with music. Backup singer for Loretta Lynn, Ronnie Millsap, Russ Taff. We had guest nationally known speakers come to our church back in Michigan. So your mother and dad and I, we took them out for dinner because the minister asked us to take them out for dinner. And they flew in from Los Angeles. Now here they're on national television all the time. And this lady said, we went and saw Russ Taff the night before we flew here. And we really enjoyed him, but there was this young girl singing backup for him in long high heels, and had this comical thing about her that just made everybody laugh, and she stole the show. I said, did she have blonde hair? She said, yeah. I said, that's our daughter. She couldn't believe it. So Carrie and Kimmy, and she could have been a comedian.
Let me share something from your kids. They wrote me about what you have meant to them, and so I asked them to, give a few words. I said, I want you to take 2 or 3 words of what you would think about your father, and so I want to share this. This is from Carrie, who we've just been talking about. And so I asked her about this, and she said, well, Kenny, you've asked me the impossible to try and reduce the enormous beauty of my dad to 2 or 3 words. She said, but here goes. The first thing that comes to mind is my dad's integrity. Secondly, kindness, and thirdly, I'd have to add faithfulness. My dad is the kind of man that when you talk to him, he looks you in the eyes. You feel the kindness from him. You feel received. You feel seen. Then integrity comes into play. You know that he means what he says and that he will show up and will back it up. And that is where faithfulness comes in. I've watched my dad's life have deep areas of woundedness. Christy being at the center, but her issues were all consuming. And yet I observed my dad being so faithful because his source was of the Lord. And that had unbelievable relevance in my life. It literally was a blueprint for me of how to live, to be faithful. I've seen a lifetime of faithfulness in my father. And it has borne beautiful fruit. So when you add integrity, kindness, and faithfulness, that's the trifecta of what a wise, godly man is. He speaks truth, but it's always cloaked in sincere kindness and integrity with the bottom line. Being faithful to the Father God in relationships. Blessings on interviewing one of the best men I've ever known. And I mean, it was
touching.
on my heart.
That's touching.
And then you got Kim, and she says, Kim says, "Hey Kenny, thank you for honoring Dad. I appreciate your heart for our dad, and you have been like a son to him." Carrie basically, as a wordsmith, summed up a lot of these three attributes of our dear Father. I 100% agree. I would say what comes to my mind first is thoughtfulness. I have memories etched in my mind of cards on the kitchen table waiting for my mom the morning of her birthday or Mother's Day. Surprising her with gifts. That was who Dad was. But mostly just running to the grocery store over and over, never complaining. Yeah, that's what was part of my dad, sending me typewritten or handwritten letters over the years and expressing his love, concern, wisdom, and prayers. So thoughtful. I will treasure these memories all the rest of my life. A servant's heart. So happy to serve always, Daddy. He came to visit one time years ago, and one morning asked if there was anything he could do for me, like paint a bedroom. Always willing to be helpful. Every visit he would want to be helpful. Kindness, of course. Anyone who knows Daddy sees his kindness. He always has great kindness with everyone he encounters. He doesn't have a rough edge or offensive spirit. He is kind and sensitive to the Lord and how he communicates with me and others. He's funny, and honestly, I don't know another man like him. That's true. I'm just so eternally grateful I get to call him my daddy. He's a treasure to my heart and my life and has always been the epitome of a loving man of God. I believe Dad has all the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, generosity, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. I love him with all my heart.
Wow.
What do you think of that?
I'm speechless. There is one thing I want to say, Kenny, while I'm thinking about it. Years ago, I saw this little saying, and I bought it, and we put it in the home on the counter. And later, when Kimmy started having children, I gave it to her, and she has it in her home. And this saying says this: the most important thing a father can do for his children is to love their mother. I want to repeat that. The most important thing I can do for my children is to love their mother. If children see that, security, they're wrapped in it. And like I said, these 9 out of 10 children that came to my school, from broken homes, single parent families.
Yeah.
They didn't have that. And people, love conquers all. It does. God, family, self, in that order.
That's great. That's great. Now you can see why he's been such a mentor, great mentor in my life. I'm trying to hold back the tears. I mean, because he's like my second dad, and Kimmy and Carrie are like sisters, my own sisters. So it's been precious. Well, Don, it's been ups and downs in my life over the last few years. Losing my father this last year, and then being one of your best friends, and then losing my dog this year. It's been a crazy thing. And then my mom has a thing called Lewy body syndrome, and so your relationship to me has always been special. But this time of my life is it's been challenging. But I'm so thankful that you're in my life, and your influence on my life. And I think about all the the great times of vacations that we've had together, and you would always say this to me, and I think it's probably more special now than it's ever been. And you say, Kenny, life is a gift.
Amen.
And I remember you saying that you pray often by starting the prayer with, Lord, thank you for the gift of life.
That's right.
And, in my book, I have a thing, say a legacy story that lives beyond one's lifetime. And there's no doubt that your imprint will live beyond your and my lifetime to the life, hopefully, that people will hear this wonderful podcast and the story that's in your story, which is part of my story, and realize that life is a gift.
It really is.
And
every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll close with this. I'd actually saw a thing from where you had sent me. You said if you want somebody that sends some funny things, go to Don Evans and ask him to share some of his funny things. But I'll tell you one funny story before I close with this. Don, he often sends just some of the most hilarious things. He said one of them had to do with a guy said he had been married, I guess 25 years. He said, "What are you going to do for your 50th?" The guy said, he said, "Well, on the 25th, I took my wife," and this is why Barbara has such a good sense of humor. He said, "On my 25th, I took my wife to Italy," and he goes, "It's my 50th this next year, and I'm going to go pick her up."
Go back and get her.
Go back and get her. And I thought, Barbara has to have the greatest sense of humor to live with you. But no, I love that about him. But he sent me something about Paul Anka, and I'll just close with this. Why it's important that you follow up when people ask you, maybe it's to tell your story. For me, that's what people have asked me. I want to know more about you. And so how do you do this? And so Paul Anka, a great writer in of himself, he was mesmerized by Mr. Frank, right?
Frank Sinatra.
Frank Sinatra. Yeah. The one and only Frank Sinatra. And Frank Sinatra had asked Paul Anka to write a song for him. And he never really followed through up on that until towards the end of his career. And he finally, I guess Frank Sinatra had dinner with Paul Anka and said, I've asked you to write a song for me, and you never have. And so he committed that he would finally do that. He just felt imperiled that, it couldn't be good enough for Frank Sinatra, whatever I wrote. But he wrote this song, and it's the song, I Did It My Way. Is that right?
My Way.
My Way. I Did It My Way. And what was so special about that was Paul Anka finally found his significance was not based on what other people thought. he actually did what he's supposed to do. And he cried when he heard the song, My Way, that he had written for Frank Sinatra at the end of his career. And so I just want to just say this, I'm going to be in the next couple of years making a transition. And I'm so thankful that you have been that imprint into my life and continue to be as I'm looking to the next phase of life, of ministry, and caring for people. We've done, with your being the chairman of our board, we've cared for over 100,000 people.
Right.
And so we're carrying on that legacy, one that you've imprinted in my life. And now we're continuing to care for people. And I think that your influence on my life, your influence on so many, has developed a lot of benefits and dividends by your investment, is what I'm trying to say here. It's just like Paul Anka finally realized his significance and intimacy was important because of being affirmed by somebody. Mm-hmm. And that's what people lack, really, in this world that we live in. They're seeking significance, affirmation, and intimacy in their life. And you've been able to accomplish that in your life. And you're an example to so many. And I know some of your friends that will be watching this, and they're applauding, knowing that what we're sharing is the way you live your life. And so you've been a big imprint of my soul and my life. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Katie.
And we love you, and it's going to be a great Christmas. And we pray for all of you that you'll, this is our 21st episode in our podcast. And so continue to get the book, and these encourage us to continue these with Booker. By the way, Booker Fritz is our producer, and I want to wish him a Merry Christmas. He's been a great inspiration to my life by doing these podcasts, and he gets in, and he loves the stories, and he and his parents are wonderful people too, and were a blessing to my parents. And I just want to say Merry Christmas to all of you, both from Booker and myself, and Don, and all of us. We want to wish you all a great Merry Christmas, and what a greater gift you can be to be a mentor, or to be receiving mentorship from somebody. And I pray you would find that, and you'll find that in our book. And so be blessed. Enjoy your Christmas, and thanks so much again, Don, for being with us. And you all have a great Christmas. Bye.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching the show. If you guys have any questions, or if you would like to donate and receive the book, please head on over to kennymuck.org/show. Here you can ask us any questions that you might have, as well as make a donation. Thank you so much for watching.